Avatar Frontiers of Pandora is a game that has me pleasantly surprised, but it's also what I feared it would be. It took me around 25 hours to finish the main story campaign, and there's still a lot I can do. Like, I only explored half of the enormous map after the credits rolled, and am now helping other Na'vi in the many side missions. I'm still going after some upgrades I missed, and there are many outposts I did not take over yet. Like, there's a ton here, but I still cannot recommend it to everyone, thanks to technical issues I experienced, the surprisingly difficult combat, and an overall forgettable story. But you've probably already noticed it, something that Avatar Frontiers of Pandora absolutely nails are these stunning visuals, something that the movies are of course known for as well. Summoning your Ikran and hopping on the back to explore the incredible environments is still impressive after the more than 30 hours I played. There are 3 very distinct looking regions in the western frontier, with a brand new part of Pandora that we have not seen before. It's pretty crazy to go from the dense forest early on in the game to the colorful plains where you can suddenly see everything in the distance. You can ride around on a dire horse here, spot different creatures. This is totally the best looking open world Ubisoft has ever created. But Avatar for me has always been more than just the crazy looking visuals. Not sure that's still the main reason to go see the films in theater, but I also like how they really take their time for the world building and do a great job at setting up relationships between the Na'vi, the tribes, the families they have, and their ongoing conflict against the humans, the RDA, that are abusing their planet for their own gain. Frontiers of Pandora never reaches that same emotional level though, and there are multiple reasons for this. So to get you up to speed, no story spoilers of course in this video, but at the start of the game we are a young Na'vi captured by the RDA. In a series of cutscenes you see that the life in one of their bases is far from ideal, but luckily we managed to break free, are put into cryo sleep to survive, and then wake up 16 years later. Like the first time you can actually control your character, you try to escape the base and can then finally reach the outside world. Like, we've been held inside this facility for as long as we remember, but we now can finally explore Pandora and learn what it means to be a Na'vi. And while the options are pretty limited, you can make your own character. Pick between 3 different voices that you will hear throughout the whole game, and if you don't like the things you selected, you can always change them later on. So an hour into the game, you go to your Resistance hideout, which will be your base of operations, and the plan now is to unite the other Na'vi clans in this part of Pandora to put an end to the RDA and their destruction. And meeting the different clans for the first time is totally one of the highlights of the story, as they will all have their own unique way of living, their own problems that you can help with, and they all handle the struggle against the RDA in different ways. Every clan has a few key characters that are very well realized, which makes it extra sad that we only spent a little time with them. Just when I was getting attached to some of my favorites, you were asked to move on to the other clan, and then won't really interact with these characters in any meaningful way after that. Would be cool to have extra side missions to get to know these characters even better, or romance options, but there's sadly none of that. The biggest problem I had though is that for a story about reuniting clans and taking on a big evil together, the game feels incredibly lonely. If you, by the way, want to help me push this review to more people, then totally leave a like. That will show your support. And of course, subscribe for more Avatar content. If you got questions about the game, also leave them in the comments down below. So the focus on different clans you will meet for the first time, the fact that you have a base of operations where you catch up with key characters, it all really reminded me of how Horizon Forbidden West is structured. But in that game, you often fight alongside the clan members or your companions, which really helps create this sort of bond and shows you that you're in this together. In Avatar, this never happens. I don't think there's combat AI for other Na'vis in this game, as I've never seen them fight alongside me, and when it feels like the perfect moment for them to do so, the game always rides around it. Like in this side mission, you meet a Na'vi who's ready to take on the RDA close by, as they've taken some stolen goods. So I meet her at the RDA site, and then she says, I'm not gonna surround myself with strange metal, so you go do it alone. Okay. Also, often in main missions, you are asked to scout ahead and are told that the others will come later. Or there's a mission where you are stuck in an RDA base while there is a big battle happening outside that you can't see but will only hear about through a radio. Like the characters at the Resistance base will constantly be talking in your ear, saying things like, "Oh, I wish I was there," which makes it even more annoying that they are never there and that you always explore the world alone. Now sure, there will be cutscenes where you'll see your Navi friends do cool moves and take out the RDA, but the moment the scene is over, you're alone again. And it's not easy to take on the RDA solo. I think I can easily say that Avatar Frontiers of Pandora is the hardest Ubisoft open world game I ever played. Like, enemies can take you out in a few seconds, even the regular soldiers. So the moment you get spotted, there's a high chance you will die, and then you have to redo the whole base or go back to a previous checkpoint and do the mission again. Which is both a good and a bad thing. Now, I actually did not really mind this myself though. Like, I never had to think this hard in order to capture an outpost in a Ubisoft game. I think it's kind of cool. Like, I focus on taking out the regular soldiers first, as they can more easily spot you than the slow amp suits. I learn the route of these amp suits and then find the best moment to strike. Like, they can take a ton of damage in combat, so it's smart to hack them and then rip the soldier out for an insta-kill instead. You can also luckily do this in combination with certain ammo for particular weapons, but that ammo is limited, so smart to use the hacking device when you can. But this tactic does not always work, because not all the RDA suits can be taken out with a melee hit like this, so you have to find other ways. There are also turrets and helicopters that will make your life way harder. Like, you are really forced to make smart use of all the tools in your arsenal. Think of strategic combinations. It's crucial that you remain stealth for as long as possible so the enemies won't call reinforcements. It can be pretty hardcore, and this on the normal difficulty. I also tried the hard mode, which was even more unforgiving. Like, one wrong move could mean a game over screen. Now again, I like a challenge, but Avatar as a property will of course speak to a way bigger audience, probably including people that rarely play games, and I don't think that they will enjoy these difficulty spikes as much. And I say spikes because these combat encounters are way harder than all the other content in the game. There are namely also missions without any combat, which makes them pretty easy to complete, and a nice change of pace compared to other Ubisoft titles where you mostly end up fighting one way or the other. In Avatar, you sometimes have to hunt harmless creatures, hack into abandoned RDA facilities, collect certain materials, learn about the lore by interacting with the environment, and there are also activities and missions focused on platforming. Like, the movement in this game is really great. You got a high jump by holding the jump button, so you have way more freedom in navigating an outpost, for example, compared to, say, Far Cry. There are plants that can also help you reach new locations. It's just a great way to experience the James Cameron universe. I think any Avatar fan will love this, but I do worry that they cannot enjoy these parts as often because they are stuck at an RDA base for a couple of hours. This is also where the RPG elements come in, because every main mission has a suggested level. Like, you can just follow the main missions without doing any of the side content, but when you do, you will be under-leveled for those missions, which is making the content even more challenging. At a lower level, or when using a lower damage weapon, you will almost do no damage to the RDA. Like, I'm not joking, sometimes after shooting, the health bar just does not go down. So then you are forced to use these special tactics and avoid combat as much as possible, as you will also die really fast. The problem is though that there's not really a clear way to get that gear score up and improve your weapons. Loot drops are namely very rare and also random, so when you do find a new gear item or weapon, which again doesn't happen often, you also have to be lucky that it's an actual upgrade versus what you're currently using. The other option is to do a ton of side content in order to get an upgrade from one of these special clan shops, or to craft a particular item by looking for materials in the world. But both these options slow down the gameplay significantly, as it can take some time before you can buy something from these clan shops that is better than what you currently have, and without any guides, it can be really tricky to find crafting materials in the world. So then you spend maybe an hour for a new item that you might throw away for a better one a few missions later. Now, I won't deny that seeing that gear score level go up It's satisfying just like in other RPGs, but I also think that this system is hurting the game overall. It feels weird that my shotgun cannot insta-kill a regular soldier anymore because the damage on the item card is low. Now there are still impactful perks on these loot drops that still make them a nice reward to get. Again, all the help in this game is needed, but I do think Avatar would have been better off with only the perks, similar to Far Cry, without having this sort of like loot rarity and gear score grind that only makes things more complicated. Now I gotta say that having the challenging combat with real stakes, where you can lose quite a lot of progress if you die, does mean that coming prepared and focusing on improving your character is actually important. Like, it's not another Valhalla or Far Cry where you can beat the game with the starting items. No, in Avatar you really have to invest, and you do this through a skill tree that luckily has more impactful skills than I initially thought after my preview session. Like, it's nothing new, but being able to pick up arrows after shooting them or getting more from gathering is super helpful, and you also have special apex skills that you unlock after getting all the skills in one tree, like Second Wind, where you get back up on your feet after being taken down. There are also these ancestor skills that have some impactful gameplay benefits, like the before mentioned melee attack that lets you rip soldiers out of their amp suits, and I love how it's all optional. If you don't go look for them in the world, you will not have these bonuses during the main campaign. And the same goes for cooking and crafting. You rarely have to engage with these systems if you just follow the story, while especially the cooking can be super beneficial. For one of the final missions, I had a 40% damage increase against the RDA, which made things way more manageable, so totally prepping for combat heavy missions is smart. So again, there's still a ton for me to do after the credits rolled. These side missions that you can find at the different camps by talking to certain NPCs are way more fleshed out than I anticipated. Like, they all contain fun little stories that you will figure out as you go. You will learn more about a Navi's way of life, get into unique combat scenarios that are not found in main missions, and you sometimes also get some pretty nice rewards. I can still do a ton of hunting and gathering for better equipment. There are random open world activities that I've not engaged with yet, like from this trailer where you have to help a hard creature. I never did that in my 30 plus hours. So again, there's quite a lot for me to explore. This game is massive. Now I do hope that as I keep playing, the performance gets better post-launch. Like, I've been mainly playing on PC, and even after turning most of my settings down, while my PC should clearly be able to handle things, I would still get frame drops here and there when a cutscene would start, or when switching weapons in the heat of battle. There were some progression issues where I would reach a certain location in a different way than the game had intended, so then I could not really progress further unless I went back and went in the right way. There was an invisible wall that I could not shoot through, but the enemies could. It's not really hurting my enjoyment overall, but it does happen often enough that it gets annoying, especially the frame drops. Again, some key moments just did not hit as hard for me because I mostly had to wait 5 seconds before I could see what was going on. I only got my PS5 review code thanks to Ubisoft a few hours before I was able to publish my review, and I think this has to do with the day 1 patch that needs to be installed for the game to work on console, so even if you have a physical copy. But from what I played so far, it runs pretty smooth. No frame drops so far. There's a quality and performance mode on PS5. Cutscenes seem to be more fluid, sometimes without a black screen before the conversation. It's totally better than my experience on PC. Now, I will be streaming the game and also doing the co-op, so you can see how that is. I will leave a link to that stream in the pinned comment, so you can check that out for more PS5 gameplay and to see the multiplayer in action. And you can of course also ask your questions there. Like, yeah, I look forward to jumping back into the game after this review is done, see what else it has to offer. I'll be doing a ton of tips and tricks as well that I cannot wait to make for you. Like, if you are a fan of the Avatar franchise, then it's an easy recommend, as everywhere you turn, you see that there has been care put into this. You see that the Avatar filmmakers at Disney were very hands-on and made sure that all the details were correct, but if you never cared for the James Cameron universe, then this game won't change that either. Like, they can easily skip this and you won't miss much. They were worst parts of Avatar, like the forgettable main villains, the uninteresting plot, boring RDA designs, don't help this game. It's a shame that the most important missions take place in the grey, uninspired facilities, fighting the same enemies over and over again. Then again, it does make sense for a game set in the Avatar world, I guess. Like, as I feared, the enemy variety is almost non-existent, with only some rare encounters against creatures, which we could have used way more of. Still, it is satisfying to take out these outposts because tactics are really needed, but the higher than expected difficulty could also be a turn-off to people who are maybe not as hardcore but still want to experience the Avatar world through a new medium. I want to start giving games scores at the end to give you an idea at how I feel and would rank them against other titles I played and reviewed. I would give Avatar a 7.5. I think it's a really great open world Ubisoft game to get lost in, especially if you love Avatar. But if you don't have a lot with the series and are not dying for something new to play, then totally wait for a discount or just skip it altogether. Like, this will be the perfect pickup for half the price or through Ubisoft Plus, as only real Avatar lovers, I think, will find the satisfaction at full price at release. Again, if you have any questions about the game, let me know in the comments down below. Subscribe for way more Avatar content. I will have a ton of spoiler-free tips and tricks, of course, coming your way, and way more. A like would really help me out, and if one of those tips videos is already up, then you can watch it by clicking on the screen. I will speak to you very soon. Goodbye.